Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I don't know where you are, but thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited that you're here. And today I have on a guest that I'm going to be talking to, Kiate Pluxawasti, and I am so excited to have him on. I feel like I have such a connection with him and I admire him and his work so incredibly much. So I'm very excited to have him in. But before we jump into that interview, I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about the 14-day journey, our sponsors, our giveaways, all of that kind of stuff. Remind you, I'm going to ask that we drop the link right now to the 14-day photo artist journey. If you're not a part of it, you should definitely be signed up for it for several reasons. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the reason that's probably going to make you guys sign up. And that reason is that ProPrints is amazing. And everyone who is signed up for the 14-day photo artist journey is getting a 2530 canvas from ProPrints with shipping included. Like, mwah, ProPrints, thank you so much for supporting us as artists and for being such an excellent company with great products. Like, I'm over the moon that you guys are doing this for the audience and really supporting people leaning into their art. You guys are amazing. So if you have not signed up, please go and do that. Hopefully we'll get a link in the bio pretty soon in case you're not signed up for the journey. A couple of other things I want to go over with you about this 14-day artist journey. If today's the first day you're joining me, the purpose of this free 14-day photo artist journey is to bring awareness to the phases that we have to go through as artists. And so I've taught thousands of students, and I've had over 400 students come through my course, and I've kind of deconstructed the process that we go through as we learn. And there are pretty much 4 phases that we have to go through if we are wanting to be the most authentic artists that we are and expand and grow. And these 4 phases are also helpful in every single area of your life. So phase number 1 is self-awareness. And that's just kind of like looking in the mirror, taking stock, realizing the things that we're brilliant at and owning that, being comfortable and confident in that. And then looking at the places where maybe we have some perceived or some real obstacles where we actually need to grow, and radically embracing it all with kindness and compassion, not with beating ourselves up, because that never works. You can never hate yourself into loving yourself. And being tough on yourself is never a catalyst for growth. It has to be done with compassion and empathy. And this 14-day photo artist journey is a place where we can all do that together in a really safe, awesome community environment where we're all building each other up. So I also want to humanize the journey for you. I know that when I started in photography, there were photographers that I admired and I looked up to, and I just thought they were perfect, right? They're just amazing and they're perfect, right? And guess what? There's no such thing as someone who's perfect. And there's no such thing as someone who hasn't had to go through journey and trials and tribulations and wins and mistakes that they learned from. And so I know that a lot of us have, people that we look up to in the industry. Kiati is one of those people for me. And I want to humanize these journeys so that you guys know that you're not alone, right? So we're going to go through this process. We're going to go through those 4 phases together. And then in the end, once we've gone through these phases and we're working on creating our vision and our authenticity as artists, and we're reigniting our passion for our art and photography and not just being commissioned photographers all the time. It's a big part of our job. But if we want to feed our soul and be happy, we also have to have that vision, right? And our own unique style and voice, and be rooted in confidence in it. So at the end of the journey, we are going to have a photo challenge where we're going to take everything that we've learned, and we are going to be submitting photos. And there are going to be winners in that. So that's going to be fun as well. So this event's incredibly important to me again because I want to create an environment where you guys feel safe going through this journey. I personally am struggling with things myself right now, and I'm going through this journey on a daily basis. If I'm going through it, I'm sure that there are a lot of you out there going through it as well. So I want to go through it with people who are supportive, and I want to be there to be supportive for people who are going through it also. So that's why this is so important to me. And I want you to be sure, again, sign up for the photo artist journey. I don't see a link in there. I am going to quickly, send a text message really quick to my team asking them to drop a link. Give me 1 second. This is technology and running this kind of stuff. Okay, cool. I did that. There we go. Photos artist journey. Perfect. So you can go to that and you can sign up. We have an amazing 14-day photo artist journey journal that I've written that is full of ideas and prompts and journaling exercises that is going to help you go through this journey and explain the 4 phases. And I'm going to talk about them more in depth as we go through the journey and during our interviews. So we'll all get there together. And then I really want to do a quick shout out to all of our amazing brand supporters who truly support artists. So I want to say a big, huge thank you to ProPrints again, who's giving everybody a 20 by 30 print, canvas wrap print. And then one person today who is in the comments and is asking questions and engaging with us, you are going to be randomly chosen to win a 32 by 46. And that is happening every single day of the photo artist journey. Again, ProPrints, you got to be kidding me. You guys have like over delivered. And again, thank you so much for really caring about the community and incentivizing people to go through this. You guys are amazing. I love you. All of my prints come from ProPrints now. They are just amazing. Okay. We also have Stella Pro, who is giving us discounts and supporting photo artists, which is amazing. We have AIBP, Boo DIY, Backdrops by Jeremy Ellsworth, Tailored Barley Jewelry, Smarketing, and Homespun Heart. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the discounts that they're giving later. But right now, I'm too excited and I can't wait anymore. So I want to bring in Kiati, and I don't see him. He left his chair. Here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes. Okay, so I am going to bring Kiati in, and you guys all get to meet someone who I really respect and I really admire. And I'm super grateful for the relationship that him and I are establishing. And I want you guys to be able to establish that kind of relationship with him as well, because he's badass. And I think he has a lot to teach us and a lot to share. So without further ado, let's bring this man in. Hello there, sir.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being invested in the community and giving back and going through these questions with me and sharing your experiences. I really appreciate it. I feel like a kindredness with you because of kind of our backgrounds and conversations we've had. And I really do think that you have a lot to bring to everybody. So with that, how about we just jump right in?
Sure. And thank you for inviting me. It's such an honor to be part of this project.
Yeah. We're delighted to have you. And I know that the audience is delighted to have you as well. A lot to learn. I have my little list of questions. You guys know I am not good at memorizing things. That's not the way my brain works. So I'll keep my list of questions here with me. Whatever works for you guys. And don't ever be like, doing the thing that you do to get it done. That's what this is all about. So we're going to start with the first one, Freddie, and this is going to end up conversational. It's not just going to be a Q&A. But we're going to have some bouncing off points. So the first thing, I know a lot about your background, but the audience doesn't. So I kind of want to start with what inspired you to become a photographer and an artist. And was there a particular moment that kind of like or experience that sparked your interest or made you decide you wanted to express yourself as an artist through photography, through this amazing medium that we all work in?
Sure. So I'll start off with the artist journey. Like back in high school, I've always, hung out in the art room and, just really wanted to, like, that was my favorite place to be, was in the art room. And then going through college, and so my undergrad was electrical engineering, definitely not art, right? So, but I did find my way into the studio art classes, just to get on the other side of campus, to be around different people that thought differently. And that was always an underlying notion of me, and to escape from just the daily grind of what my career would be. Fast forward, I spent 20 years in strategy, doing corporate strategy, IT strategy, consulting. And along the way, when I had kids, that's really when I picked up a camera, just really trying to find a way to capture them. This kind of dates me, but back in the day with the point and shoots, you would click a button and 5 seconds later it would click, right? So with the digital cameras. And then, I got a DSLR just to kind of really take better photographs of the kids. And then along the way, I just kept shooting and shooting more. And then that really kind of sparked an interest of, wow, I can actually create a lot more than just taking pictures. Right. So then that's really where a lot of my underlying artistic notions started to surface up. And then that's when I started being able to find ways to create more with the camera than just taking pictures of just random people.
Yeah, isn't that a beautiful thing? So I think we for those of you that don't know, Kiari and I come from very similar backgrounds. When I was in college as well, I spent a lot of time in business, actually also in English Lit. What was I doing over there? I don't know. If you guys have seen my typos, I'm legendary for them. No one would know that was my major in college. But I went out into the world and I went to work for the world's second largest software manufacturer, SAP America. And so I spent a lot of time in tech as well. 17 years I spent that. But when I was in college, I did the same thing. I was constantly taking the poetry classes. I was constantly taking the art history classes. Like the humanities were where I wanted to be, because I wanted to be around those people who had different ideas and were thinking in different ways and kind of like breaking outside of the mold. And I think that along with several other things, really shaped like the directions that I would go in after I've kind of decided, okay, I've had enough of this career. I'm ready to shake things up and do things differently. And I think we have a lot of that in common. And one of the things that I want to say to the audience is that one of the most amazing things that my daughter has ever told me was that through my examples in life is that I taught her that she never had to be the same thing, that she could always reinvent herself, that there was nothing that she couldn't do. If she wanted it, she just had to go after and get it. And Kiari, you're a perfect example of that. You're a perfect example of that. You spent so many years in strategy and in IT. This is such a like whoa, big, 180 what we were both doing previously.
Yep.
Moving into the arts, and mine kind of started like unintentionally as well. I didn't mean to go that way. But when I did, it set my soul on fire. It was just like, oh,
100%.
Lord, feel the same way?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, you see people, live their day and live their lives. And, unfortunately, majority of the people that are out there are not really following their passion. They go through a career because it makes sense. They go through a career because, that's what their parents suggested them to do. They go through a career because, it was stable, right? Especially people in our generation, right? So, when growing up, if we ever told our parents we want to be an artist, they're like, oh, starving artist, right? And a lot of it was because, as parents, looking back now, as my daughter's about to go, she just accepted to go to college, like our biggest fear, and I'm sure our parents' biggest fear was, will our kids be able to survive? They wouldn't be able to survive as a starving artist. One, we want to make sure they can put food on the table, they can, put a roof over the head. And finally our parents are like, we want them out of our house. So they want, so it's like, it's these things where they're like trying to check the box in their head of, you can't make money in art, right? And as we see today with photographers and successful photographers, we are thriving and we are making money and we are building businesses. And, that's what's changed so much. And I'm proud of the evolution. I'm happy with the evolution. And, and the advice I gave to my daughter was like, you know, do what you love, do what you want, do what you have passions for. And, you don't necessarily have to pick a major per se, but do something that, at least can provide a good foundation, because that will give you a good foundation to allow you to do whatever you need to do. Right. And whatever you pick now doesn't necessarily have to be what you are 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Like, I think we were talking offline about like, I go from, you know, the strategy and the consulting side of it to being a photographer. And then I started a practice with my wife. She's an optometrist. So I run her practice as well. And then we always joke, once we retire out of this job, then, I'm moving to Hawaii and opening up a stationary food truck, so it's like all these different levels of, and food truck for me is the same thing, right? There's passion behind it, there's artistry behind it, you're creating food, you're making people happy, all of the core things of why I love photography kind of coincides, right? It's being able to provide that impact, being able to make a difference, in our own little way to the group of people that we impact.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. One of the things that I always tell my daughter is sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do in order to do the things that we want to do. So while she was choosing her career path, she's one of the photographers. She's one of those hipster photographers, Kiade, who is like, I refuse to take commissions. She thinks she's Pablo Picasso, right? She when she watches this, but she wants to create of herself. She doesn't want to collaborate. She wants to create of herself, and that's a beautiful thing. That's an amazing thing to take. But sometimes you're going to have to take commissions, or perhaps you're going to have a job that supports that passion. And I think in the photography industry, a lot of us think that we have to make money at what we're doing. But there's so many different paths to take. This truly, you can have a job, and this can be your passion. If you don't want to take commissions and you don't want to like shoot what your clients want to shoot, you just want to create it yourself, that's okay. I think the industry is kind of nervous that that's not okay.
Oh yeah. And that's the thing. It's like with photography, at least if we kind of look at the exact timeline, this was my side hustle for 7 years. I had my day job to, put the roof over my head, to, pay the bills, to, have 2 kids. So it's like paying for how expensive kids are, right? So, and then but I did I started off with weddings and families, and then kind of slowly evolved into boudoir, and then I have 3 focuses on genres that I shoot now. But like, it was a side thing for a while, and then my wife was like, okay, I need you to come and really kind of stabilize the practice and kind of shift us to grow. So I was like, all right, are you okay with me leaving? And she's like, yep. So going from a 2-income family to a 1-income family to, you bet on yourself, right? You're at this point when, as entrepreneurs and photographers are entrepreneurs. So, the biggest thing is we have to be okay with, getting told no or rejection day in and day out. And it's that one yes. It's that, the affirmation that like makes it all pay off, right? And just being able to constantly be in that mode. So like now we have, and mind you, we did this right before COVID, right? So imagine jumping right into 2 small businesses, 2 family businesses, without the protection of a corporate job. And then COVID happens and you're like, holy crap, what do we do? Right. So, and now fast forward, we've survived it and we're thriving, and it's a beautiful thing. But it's like, I look back and I was like, oh, well, if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, would I have still left at that time? And I think a lot of me would still say yes. Right. Even though like the financial side of me and the business side was like, oh no, I could ride it out because I was working from home. I could still juggle, I could do everything else and still have that income rolling in. But mentally and soulfully, like I put everything into focusing on revamping her practice and standing up this business and building the studio out. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was juggling both, right? And when we started her practice, we do a lot of consulting for small startups, and it was like a lot of doctors will juggle between two practices, and like, no, you have to go all in, right? And it's like that with photography as well. It's like, being able to ride the ride and enjoy the journey and accept the ups and downs with it, and be okay to fail, and know that you're going to fall on your face, and it's just how you pick yourself back up, and and what you learn from it. Those are the fun parts of the ride. It might not be fun right then and there, but you look back, and it's like also raising kids. Like, I think we were talking, and your daughter's like had this epiphany that is like, that she arise on her own, but the underlying nature of the things that we taught them, right? So, and then that's like the win, right? So
Yeah. I think we hit on a major epiphany during this interaction here, that I just want to go back and reiterate to all of you out there who think that you're not a legitimate photographer unless you have a studio, unless it is your full-time gig, unless you are doing, you buy the guide that shows you the 10 poses and you're doing 6 figures in 6 months, that you're not legitimate photographer. I'm going to go ahead and call bullshit on that. That is absolutely not true. That's not being an artist, and that's not being a photo artist. It is absolutely okay. You have permission to have a side hustle and maybe do some of the things that you don't want to do in order to allow you to do the things that you want to do. All the generations that came before us, Kiati, they all did that.
yeah.
It's kind of a luxury these days for us to like jump into this kind of stuff. And I don't know if it's going to continue being a luxury over the next year or so. We all might have to like look at other ways of diversifying, and meeting the market where it is and meeting our clients where we are. But it's okay. Like, there's so much pressure put on people to have the studio and to make the 6 figures in 6 months and to just do it with poses and not go through all of the things. It's just so incredibly unrealistic. So for those of you out there who are still working, it's okay to have this as your passion as art, and it's okay to make the mistakes and to learn and grow from them. Like Patty said, that's the journey. It's the going down and picking yourself back up and then learning from it and going further. So wherever you are right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
And
like the reality, like, I'm in my studio now, but this is 2 years old. I shot out of my house for almost 10 years.
yeah.
So like, the only reason I moved out of the studio is, one, COVID, and two, because I do more education, right? So I feel more like having one client and my makeup artist to my house, that's fine. Having 10 people roaming around my house that I kind of know, no, not having that, right? So like that's really why, like that's really the impetus. And also, like, I wanted to do other things, like 4 times out of the year I turn my studio and reconvert it into a rain room. So I have that, so I can't do that in my house. So it's like certain things where drove me to have a physical studio space, but not everyone needs to have one.
No. Can I tell you something you're gonna laugh at right now? You're gonna be like, are you kidding me? You know where I started?
Where?
In my dad's garage.
Yeah.
And there was no natural light in there. I was using.
Did you open the garage door? Did you let the
No,
light come into the garage?
I was using continuous lights, Kiati.
Whoa. So this might fast forward to later in a conversation, but
Yeah, we're gonna pin that. We're gonna pin that to later in the conversation. But yeah, and I didn't like what I was creating because I didn't know how to use continuous lights. And so I immediately then switched to working from my home and then eventually into a studio space and all that stuff. But we'll get there. Okay, so why don't you tell our audience what kind of photography that you specialize in, and how did you end up developing this niche?
Sure. So I am a boudoir, dance, and portrait photographer. mainly I love people, right? So, and like I love the one-on-ones with people. Like I said earlier, I started out in weddings, I started out with families, and then along the way, one of the photographers that I shot with for weddings, she was going to a boudoir workshop up in Pennsylvania, and it was about an hour and a half or so away. So she was like, "Hey, I don't want to go by myself. I don't want to drive by myself. Would you come with me?" I was like, "Sure, I'll be your ride or die." So we went, and I just through that experience, through that workshop, absolutely fell in love with the genre. And that's how it started for me, 13 years ago, with boudoir. And then my daughters both dance. So I started shooting for their studio. And that just slowly evolved. And I'm teaching at Padada, which is the dance photography conference this year. And so it's kind of just slowly evolved into that. And that's been amazing to kind of run on that ride. Um, with philosophy, last issue of philosophy, I wrote an article about how dance photography and boudoir photography kind of combine. So you can get that online if you wanted to check it out. But it was really fun to kind of mix the genres and talking about lines and talking about posing and lighting and things like that. So it's very similar from that perspective. My subjects are different, but like at the end of the day, there's a lot of synergies. And then from the way I edit, I lean depending on what I'm doing and the project I'm working on. I can sometimes lean a little bit more painterly on the edit. So that's really where a lot of the portrait work kind of comes about. But those are like out of shooting all the things. Those are the three that I absolutely love, and those are the ones that I really talk about when I promote myself. I'll shoot a couple things here and there that are like different like products and sports and here and that stuff just to kind of get out of the mix. I think someone I saw in the comments earlier is saying, if you focus it as a business, then it's hard to get the creative side out of it. And so what I do for that is, I pick, a couple times a year that I'll do trade shoots, and those trade shoots are 100% for me. It's for my soul, right? And the people that I'm shooting with definitely benefit from it, because then they're getting images. But at the end of the day, it's a fully collaborative process for me. Sometimes it's so hard to come up with a concept or come up with an idea, but sometimes you have things that are just rolling around in your head that you just want to get out. For me, I'm hugely on this collaborative mode where and I think my wife calls me out on it, is like she's the idea person, I'm the executioner, right? So with art, it's the same way. If you give me that little spark, then let me run 6 ways to Sunday on different various concepts and ideas with it, but I just need that little spark just to ignite it, right? So yeah, not sure if I answered that. I get all over the place sometimes with my questions.
No, I actually think these free form kind of conversations where we're not like sticking to one point are awesome, because all of the beautiful things end up coming out of us. If anybody can find that link, if anybody would be willing to go and find that link for me where Kiate wrote that article for philosophy, that would be awesome, because I know that I would love to read it, and I'm sure that some of you would as well. So if anybody finds that, if you can post it in the comments, that would be awesome. If not, I'm sure Kiati, if you'd be willing to post that later after
Yep.
it's over, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's just go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room.
Mhm.
Let's do that part now.
Sure.
Okay. So I have always been of the opinion that there's nothing wrong with male boudoir photographers. Like, if I can, if I can shoot, lesbian women, lesbian couples, if I can shoot men, then why can't men shoot women or gay men? Or like, it's not like we're going into our sessions like we're on Tinder or something like
Right.
that. Whatever. I don't know the dating apps, you guys. I'm so out of the. I hear my girlfriends talking about like Bumble or some shit like that. I don't know what they are. Whatever. I'm married and I don't go on them. Maybe I should. But anyway, I don't know what they are. So it's not like we're going into our sessions with that type of approach. And I think that they're male photographers in boudoir industry, we automatically assume that it's like creepy. And I've always been like, that's not cool, because I have a lot of like being in the San Francisco Bay Area, um, I think being openly homosexual nowadays is it's a lot more, we're far more accepting as a
Mhm.
society. But when I started in this genre, that was not the case.
Right.
And I'm in San Francisco Bay Area. So we're kind of like the mecca for acceptance, and we have been for a very long time. The Castro is the Castro for a damn reason. So it's never been a thing for me. But I know that people have this mentality around it. And I know that men, you guys get bogged down with this idea. And I think it's actually really horrible. I'm not for it whatsoever. Um, if I can do what I do, I don't understand why you can't do what you do. And the other thing I always tell like males that are wanting to get into boudoir or who are boudoir and they're a little bit uncomfortable is that when your clients book you, they're not expecting to show up and you have chi-chis and not the other part. They understand exactly who you are, right?
Yep.
They know and they understand. So kind of letting go of that is important. But I think one of the things that you might have to do a little bit more than women, it's a little bit more challenging for you as a male boudoir photographer, is establishing relationships with your clients. So,
Mhm.
and your subjects, you want to talk a little bit about that. Let's talk to our male audience who are like, I'm a little scared. Like, let's create an environment where we feel more comfortable.
Yep. So we'll start off with like the whole creepy aspect of it, right? So a lot of it is you have to go into it and doing it for the right reasons, right? So when other male photographers come up to me and says, "Oh, I want to get into boudoir," I was like, "Why? Why do you want to do it?" Right? If your answer is, "I want to take pictures of beautiful women," then no, this is not the genre for you. Like if you want to do fashion and glamour, that's um, that is one thing that is a genre, but like boudoir is really around connecting with your clients, building that emotion, giving them an opportunity to see themselves the way you see them and others see them, and teaching them how to be comfortable in their own skin. You have to jump into the genre and do it for the right reasons. um let's see, I think people are hearing reverb. Is that reverb from me, or I'm just seeing the comments? Sorry.
Is it so bad that you guys can't hear what we're saying? I don't think it is.
Okay.
If it is,
Oh, hearing it from Denise.
oh, well,
I think
so
you're clear from me. All right, so we'll keep continuing. Um, so yeah, like I said, you have to do it for the right reasons. So as male boudoir photographers going out there, I implore you, you have to understand your why, and that's really like a lot of understanding your why is a lot of part of my business as well. Even with my clients, when I do my consults with them, I ask them, why do you want to do this, right? And you always get the clients of, oh, I want to do this for for my fiance or for my husband for our anniversary. And I was like, that's all fine and good, but at the end of the day, this session, that day that you're spending with me, the day that we are there with my makeup artist, that we are going through the session, that is 150% for you. And that is your day, and that is all about you. And the images that come out of it could be for whoever you wanted to have them for, but um, also realize that when you see those images, they are also for you. Because, and this is also why I like to do multi-day. I have you come in, then we come in for the IPS session, and then we come in for the pickup, because that day you leave with such a high of just the experience, and then you come in and you get reminded of how amazing it was, and you get to see how amazing you are. And then when you come and pick up your products, then again you get reminded. And I love watching them opening up and just seeing it and touching it and feeling it. And so it's all these 3 points of reminding of how amazing you are. Because the reality of it is, when you go back to your daily grind, sometimes the makeup's not there and the outfits are not there, and you tend to forget. So having these little Kickstarter reminders of, yeah, this is me, and I am a fucking beast, and this is awesome. And so it's like having those reminders. That's why I love having the multi-day sessions. I know my colleagues out there, some of them like to do same day IPS, some like to drop ship their products. and that's all fine and good, but for me it's about that personal connection with my clients, right? And I will say, like, the one advantage that I will say of being a male boudoir photographer is pricing, right? So it's easier to say, because we do provide a luxury product, right? So, it's easier for us to say our prices are, 650 a session, and then our collection start at 3,000, because if you're coming in really cheap, that's also kind of creepy, right? So I would say, from a male boudoir photographer perspective, take the fact that you're priced high, priced luxury as an advantage. That's probably one of the only things I would say from that perspective. But, like, I love what I do. I love, and it's having that genuine connection, right? So a lot of the way I do consult is, I want to get you on the phone. I want to at least have a conversation with you. I want to talk. I want to understand your why. I want to be able to describe, you know, why I do what I do, right? And be able to have them genuinely hear it. And then at the end of the conversation, if they say, well, I prefer a male boudoir photographer, I have a list of 7 female boudoir photographers in my area that I will recommend you to. Because at the end of the day, I want you to have that experience. I want you to have that session. And it's not just about me closing the sale, but it's about you having that experience. And,
Can you guys see why I love this man so much? Like, what a beautiful human being, right? And Kiati, even in doing that, what an amazing way to service your clients, because they might not book you for that session, but because you work in different genres as well, they're probably going to come back to you for something else because of your integrity. And that's amazing. That's incredibly important. Okay, awesome. I think we've given people a lot of good stuff about that. So now you are far more technical. You're a much more technical shooter than I am. So I'm personally curious, because I struggle with this. How do you actually balance your technical proficiency with creative expression in your work? And before we start that, can I tell a quick little story?
yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah.
Okay, so I was at WPPI, and Kiara and I were outside and we were chit-chatting, and we were talking about why I don't paint with light the same way that he does with artificial light. I paint with natural light. I don't paint with artificial light. And one of the reasons that it doesn't it's not cohesive with the way that I shoot. You guys, if you know me, I'm always on mode because I'm looking for the emotions, right? And they kind of morph and change very quickly over time. So I'm always using burst, right? So as I said this to Kiati, he was like, "Oh, wait, hold on." And within like 2 minutes, he had put his backpack down, pulled out all of his products, had a full setup. This was all just in one backdrop. Had a full setup of a lighting scenario for me that had a flash on it, like burst mode from Stella. And I was like, holy moly, take me to Stella right now and show me what to buy. And he literally walked me right back into the conference, and I immediately made that purchase right then and there. So because I want to learn how to balance that as well. And you've done a brilliant job at it. So let's talk to the audience about how you have balanced like your technical proficiency with your creative expression in your work, or if is it part of your work?
Yeah, so it's funny because, like, I come from a technical background, right? So, you know, having to not talk technically sometimes is really difficult for me. And then the more and more I find myself into photography, I actually dropped that a little bit. That's it. So the photography has been a really nice, fun escape to not talk about, how many stops my light is, or, talking about the inverse square law. Like, I've thrown all that stuff out. And when it comes to lighting, and you'll see this, it is by feel, because, like, my studio is primarily a natural light studio. I supplement with artificial light. So if a client comes in at 5 o'clock and then the sun's going down, then I'm not like, oh crap, I need to. But majority of the time, I like this window here is beautiful. It's south facing. I get light all throughout the day. It's longer during the spring and summer months. Once we hit fall and winter, that's really when I bring out the lights. I have a Stella Pro right there that's giving me a hair light. Just like nice little glow. This is really, it's not the hair light, it is frost. But yeah, it's and then I have a light up here. So it's way to how do you kind of balance light, right? So for me, a lot of it is by feel. As much as I am a natural light photographer, I am, I do know my lighting, and I kind of mix it. I try to not, and when I explain to people how we do lighting, it's not really anything about like using a light meter like this. My hand is like, you can even see, right, the curve, this right here is what I use to meter light and to kind of see where the light hits, right? This is a butt, right? The curvature of your tush, right? So that's, that highlight there is really what we want to see. And then the shadows on this side, I'm like doing this in reverse, is kind of what I look for. So I'll stick my hand out there in any environment and kind of figure out, okay, where's my highlights looking? Where's my shadows looking? And then if I want to mimic that with lighting, I do the same thing. I'll pop a light up, I'll pop a softbox up, and then I'll use, this part of my hand to kind of figure out, where I need to position my client and to get the same type of vibe to it,
The fact that you talk about lighting being a feel, like it's again another one of the reasons that I love you so much, because if I'm working with someone who's like, okay, so you need to get your shutter speed here and then this there, and you got a meter over here, and I'm like, a couple seconds into it, you've completely lost me. But if we're talking about the feels, like I'm so in it. And I think that there are a lot of us out there like that who need support from people like you who break it down in those ways. I'm personally so grateful for you. Thank you for working that way. Okay, so next question. Tell us about a project that you are currently working on that might be a little bit challenging.
So I personally don't think it would be that challenging, but I think my subject is proclaiming that she'll be challenged. So I will be working with Denise on teaching her lighting.
It is going to be the most difficult project you have ever done in your life. It's going to be fun though. So Kiara and I are working out a way we're trying to figure it out now. We're in the beginning stages of creating this, where he is going to help me become proficient in using artificial light to help paint the way that I want to paint with light and not be at the mercy of just natural light all the time, but also being able to, Candy and I have discussed this as well, create a little bit more punch and impact in some of the imagery that I want to create. And so I think what we're leaning towards doing maybe like a little YouTube series of Kiara and I working together, where you guys get to see me suck at lighting, like real bad, probably sitting in a corner crying as he's trying to teach me, because this is definitely one of the areas that I've identified when I do my self-assessment in this photo artist journey. And I look at the places where I'm strong, and I look at the places where I struggle and where I have obstacles that are perceived or real. This not understanding how to use artificial lighting, unfortunately, is a very real obstacle, and I'm done with it. Like, I want to be a more well-rounded photographer who can incorporate this into my work and make my work even more beautiful. So Kiari has the very challenging task of getting me through this, and we're going to try and record the entire process for you guys so that you can see if I can do it. Someone who's been opposed to doing this from the
I'm
beginning.
100% confident that you will be able to.
Oh, I am too, especially with your support, but also with my tenacity. It's just a changing of mindset, right?
Yeah.
That we have to do. So back to that, when I was shooting in the garage at my father's house and using like continuous lights. What happened, Kim, is because I didn't know where to position them. I wasn't sure. Couldn't quite figure out like where do I want highlights, where do I want shadows, what do I want this stuff. Everything I hated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I threw away all the lights. I scrapped the garage that I rebuilt. I probably spent like $7,000, 8,000, maybe $12,000 building that, and was like, no, I just have to do natural light because I can't figure this out. And it was that resistance and that fear of like failing, fear of failing, and the fear of stepping outside my comfort zone. And that was Denise 15 years ago. Denise today is much more self-aware, and the Denise today is a lot more compassionate. And I'm willing to go ahead and suck so that I can learn. I'm willing to go ahead and fall down and not do well, with the support of the community that I have around me, and the community that I'm trying to build for everyone. And I don't know that I'm going to get to Betty's level immediately, but to be working to get there over time. And I know it's a process, and I'm going to treat myself gently as I do it. And I'm going to be kind with myself, and I am going to get there. And I would challenge every single one of you today to find an area, be self-reflective, and find an area in your work when you're doing that self-assessment. Download that journal, start working through that journal, and find an area where you have not just a perceived obstacle, but a real obstacle, and lean into it without any fear, knowing that those are the places where you're actually going to grow and flourish. And it's okay to skin your knees. And the important part is what you learn from it, what you take from it, and how you grow. So I am so like excited to do. I've already bought some of the lights. I don't have all of the lights I need, but I bought some of the lights, and we're going to get after this. And this is going to be fun. You guys are going to be able to watch us knock this out of the park. It's going to be amazing. Do you have anything to say about that, Kiati?
No, I'm excited. I'm like, I think it's going to be a blast. I think, depending on how we do this, we can have you at my studio. I'm definitely going to your studio. We can do this like, multi, session set. There's a lot of things to kind of just play with. We can do outdoors. We can do indoors. We can, just there's so much fun that we can play with.
Yeah, we're going to get Stella involved too, because those are most definitely the lights that I'm going with. And so Stella's going to be part of this journey as well. And I'm super excited about it. We're going to have a whole lot of fun. Are there any other projects that you're working on right now that are kind of like exciting that you want to talk to us about, babe?
I think the big thing is actually that I'm working on now is actually trying to figure out what my workshop schedule is going to be looking like this year and next year. So, I've been curving a lot of. I just love to travel. I traveled 12 weeks out of the year last year. I'm kind of on deck on doing the same this year, and it's a mixture between photography and trips for the family and trips with my wife. So it's like next week I'm going to Nashville with her team just to kind of do some stuff on optometry, and then I'm back on in Chicago for Pas de Deux, and then ClickCon right after it. So I'm 3 weeks in Chicago. And then kind of moving around. So now I have some gaps in between of, I think June is open right now to kind of pick up something to travel to, and then kind of figuring out a workshop for that. A couple months ago, I was in Tampa and we shot at an airplane hangar, which was totally fun. So next year I want to do some more things like overseas. Like I'd love to shoot in Iceland. I absolutely loved Iceland during the summertime. It's 24 hours of daylight. So imagine 12 hours of golden hour, and with the Icelandic landscape. Oh my gosh. So, I'd love to kind of plan like a retreat or a workshop out there, and kind of, I don't know. I'm more inclined to kind of want to travel and travel with like-minded folks and create. So that's kind of my goal for next year, especially since my number one will be my oldest daughter, who will never skip a beat at stepping in front of my lens. She'll be off at school. So my youngest is very much mommy's girl. So, I'm going to be like, all right, who do I have to hang out with?
Well, first of all, congratulations on your daughter choosing her school. I know that that was a thing that you were going through over the last couple of months, and congratulations on that. Good
Thank
job, Dad, getting her there. That's amazing. And I can hook you up with this girl who would be willing to travel with you and help you with like coaching and directing and stuff like that if you want to do some, travel workshops with her. Her name is Denise, and she's really, really good at what she does. And she likes traveling as well. So if you're interested in doing anything like that, just let me know, and I'll connect.
You'll connect. You'll have your people talk to her people.
Connect you guys. Yeah. I think she's your people, and I think you guys would probably work well together.
Yeah.
She might be into doing something like that. So if the audience wants to find you, I think this is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find you? Where can we learn more about your work? Where can we learn about your upcoming workshops? Where can we learn about your potential collaborations with this chick, Denise? And where can we follow like the beautiful things that you're doing?
So I think I'm going to try and I see a ton of the comments through this. So hopefully I can get back in there and answer everyone. But I did post my Instagram handle. So my boudoir Instagram and my main Instagram is at Kiatiplooks, Kiati, P as in Paul, Looks. And then my dance Instagram is kiatiplooks.dance. I think someone also pinned my website, which is kiatiplooks.net. And then I'm here on Facebook as well. So, send me a friend request, drop in a message saying that you saw us here. And then that way I know that's where you came from. And then that way I can connect with you versus, this is some rando just trying to connect with me.
I think, Kiati, you're also in the Art of Emotion group as well, right?
Yep.
Part of the Art of Emotion group. So he's part of the community in there as well. So you guys can connect with him in there also. If you have questions or you want to talk to him, you can always put a post and at him. And if he has time, he'll respond to you guys. I just want to look at these questions really quick, Kiati, and see if there's anything really solid in here that we should. I'm sure there's lots of great questions, but I just want to go through this really quick. Well, everyone's really excited to have you in here. That's great. I'm really excited to have you here too. I wish I could have you in every day. I just love having conversations with you. Let's see. Okay. I think we resonated with a lot of people about, this not having to be all of it,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. If you guys have any questions for Kiati, please post them in here. So someone asked, Kiati, what's your take on boudoir? Do you consider yourself an emotive photographer? We talked about that word the other day. Conversation about that word. It's kind of a word that Denise made up that people are jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
With it's kind of a new thing that's happening within the industry. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you should probably take my class? Do you want to take my class? You want in class?
I jumped into a little bit at AIVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's so I think that's the other difference with being a male boudoir photographer. It's very between me and my clients, we create the emotion, but the process of me getting there is very clinical, right? And so that way there's really no, it's and you'll see if you jump on my website and look at the video, that was actually so I talked about shooting out of my house. That was actually all the footage was actually taken in my house right before COVID. So before I moved into the new studio. So a lot of the scenes in there are from that. But you'll see me posing with my clients, right? So I do a lot of mirror posing. I do a lot of so one of my clients that are coming up, they are deaf and mute. So we've been having conversations through Instagram and just messaging, and a lot of what I will post coach her through is through just visual mirroring. So that's how I plan to run her through my poses. to that extent, like we like the motive part of it is through the face, but through everything else, it's very much clinical, right? And for me, it has to be that way, right? So that way you can't really get a situation of, oh, is there any emotion behind it? There's no emotion behind it because I'm just running you through my post flow, right? And for a male boudoir photographer, I think it's easier that way. It's almost like going to a male gynecologist, right? It's very clinical. They're not seeing the female body part in any way of in sensuality or sexual, right? The goal for me to create that art is, but I'm viewing you as the art piece, not as a person that I am having emotions about, right? And I think that's very important to kind of make that distinction as a male boudoir photographer. Is like there really is, and it also keeps you out of trouble, right? So I'm married, I have 2 kids, I'm very happily married, so there's really no, and in the beginning, like the neighborhood and because my studio is actually like literally 3 doors from my house, and her friends was like, oh, are you worried because this is what he sees and this is what he does and da, da, da. And I was like, no, because it's a business. We treat it as a business. It's very clinical. It's very professional. At the end of the day, the output is definitely creating those images to instill emotion. But if you ever watch me go through one of my client sessions, it's very much, oh, move here, and then my makeup artist, who is my ride or die, she will be there to adjust the outfits, to adjust the clothes, things of that sort. So I never touch my clients. It's always my makeup artist, and she's always in there and doing the things that she needs to do.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna put you in class, Carrie. I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think the right way is like, um, the right way is what works for you. But I think I have some things that might help you just a little. I don't know. I might have a few tricks up my sleeve that might help you just a little bit. Um, Lulu asked, how do you market between dance and boudoir, or is it mostly word of mouth?
Yep, it's a little bit mix of both, right? So I'm heavily engaged within the dance community here. Between like my daughters, the dance directors, they dance at their studio and they also dance at their high school. And then within their high school, they have a bunch of dancers that are in different studios. So I do that. I'm definitely heavily embedded within the dance photography community. Which is one of the reasons why I'm teaching at Padada this year. For those of you who don't know, Padada is a dance photography community, and they have a conference in Chicago this year. So that is July 19th to the 24th, I believe, and then or 23rd, and then I'm debating to come back home for a week or back home for a couple of days, and then fly back out there for ClickCon. But I might be doing a workshop right before ClickCon as well. So yeah, but
Someone said you should probably be at my workshop in October. I think they want to learn from you.
what are the dates in October?
They like you. They like you. We've sold out the first workshop. We're almost sold out in the second workshop. We might have a third one in early November. I'll send you those dates. We'll have a conversation.
Okay.
It sounds like everyone is really, really appreciated your sharing and the things that we've gone over. I know that I have. I adore you immensely. I'm so excited to learn from you personally. And I'm just so grateful for the relationship and the camaraderie and the support. I think you're a beautiful human being doing
Likewise.
amazing
Yeah.
things. And you're an incredible artist. And just thank you for being part of our community and sharing your journey with us. It's amazing. So before I get into the giveaway really quick, we're going to talk about some of the other amazing speakers that we have coming on still. So we have Jacqueline Tobin, who's going to be coming on.
Yes.
Kiari and I both love her immensely.
Yes. She's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. We have Lacey Morgan, who's going to be coming on. We have Sean Black, we're going to be talking to. Aaron Blackwell, Maria Arellano. We have my daughter, who's going to be coming on, Kiari. Sakara
Wow.
Raven Birdsong. We have Elena Marr, who's going to be joining us. We have Leon Johnson, who's going to be joining us. And then we have Aphrodite. You know who she is, right, Kiati?
No, I don't think I do.
She's that model that Sue kind of made like portrait photography famous. Sue shoots her quite a bit, and she's usually at the Portrait Masters and in different events. So she's coming on to talk to us about being a visual artist as a model and working with photographers and what it's like. So she'll be joining us as well. So those are the people who are going to be joining us over the next 14 day or the remainder of the 14-day challenge.
That's awesome.
I know, I'm excited.
That's a fantastic lineup.
I know, I'm stoked. We've got a lot of good stuff to bring in. So I want to remind you guys that I go live every day at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have giveaways every single day and special offers from our brand supporters. That's April 14th through the 27th. Now, April 23rd through the 27th, we are going to be challenging you guys to create a personal project. And so we're accepting submissions through the 23rd through the 27th. We will be doing judging between the 3rd and the 4th, and we are going to be announcing our winner on the 5th. We are giving away daily 32 by 48 wrap, and then from our supporters. So let's see. From Backdrops by Jeremy Ellsworth, there is a 10% discount on current backdrops in stock to all attendees with the code PAJ10. And this is going to go out in the email to you guys. It's going to be valid through May 15th. Stella Pro kits are on sale right now. So just like I did, go and get one because they're crazy. I haven't even learned to use it yet, but just watching Kiara show me a demo of it, I was like, okay, sold. I'm buying this. And I bought it. The Art of Emotion, the strip down course that I have coming up that begins May 1st. Each one of you are getting an $800 partial scholarship. And the code for that is AOE23. Again, in the email. AIBP is doing 10% with the code AIBPSD2022 for all registrants. It's an awesome community to be a part of. And then Homespun Heart is doing 10% off with coupon code Journey. That's going to expire on the 5th. Again, this will all be in the email that we send out. So I will remind you to go and download the Artist Journey. If you haven't already signed up, go sign up. Download that journal and start working through it. And tomorrow we will have another interview at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Kiati, all my love. Thank you so much. It was
you
having you. And Lacey, can I get a winner for today? For that? Oh, I already have it. It is Cassidy. Wait a second. Cassidy Clendenning. You will be winning. Cassidy, let me know that you're here. I want one of these big prints. How about you, Kiati?
I do too.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this conversation. I did too. I get to have these conversations. Yay, Cassidy's here. Woo! You won, sweetheart. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Kiati, go have a beautiful day today. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being such an incredible person who's willing to share with the community, humanize this journey, show people that we don't have to be like, this brilliant, like, 7-figure photographer to be a successful artist. And there are many different ways to do it. Like, it means the world to me. You're an incredible human being. So thank you for being here with us. And you guys remember he's part of our community. Go follow him in his community. You guys can catch the replay. We'll be sending it out to you. It'll be on YouTube. You'll see it in Reels. It's going to be all over the place. We want to give you guys as much as possible. So,
and don't hesitate to reach out. I'm easily accessible. So you can find me and ping me and ask me questions. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And you guys, he's an awesome resource. I mean, I'm using him to teach me lighting. So we know he's a good resource for sure. He's the person I chose out of everyone in the industry. So
thank you.
If you're looking to learn lighting, this is your guy. Okay, awesome. Everybody have a wonderful day. Kiati, thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.